Imagine this. A powerful, wealthy CEO walks into his private office and freezes. There, curled up on his expensive couch, is one of his cleaning ladies, a young black single mom, fast asleep with her tiny baby nestled against her chest. She's not stealing. She's not causing trouble. She's just exhausted. Bone-tired from a life most of us can't even imagine. What happens next is unbelievable. One simple decision changes two lives forever, and starts a ripple of kindness that transforms an entire company. This is the true story of how love was born in the most unexpected place. Stick with me, you're not going to believe where this goes. Let's go back to the beginning. Emily Thompson was 28 years old, but the lines around her eyes told a different story. Every single morning at 4 a.m., her alarm went off in their tiny apartment in Atlanta's West Side projects. She'd drag herself out of bed, nurse 6-month-old Jacob, wrap him tight in that faded blue sling she'd bought at Goodwill, and pray he'd stay quiet for the long ride ahead. 2 buses. 90 minutes. She couldn't afford daycare. $180 a week was more than she made after taxes on her $14.50 an hour cleaning job at Harrington Dynamics. So Emily did what thousands of working moms do in silence. She brought her baby to work. She'd sneak him into the supply closet during her 15-minute breaks, rocking him gently while her arms shook from lack of sleep. Her hands never stopped moving, scrubbing floors, emptying trash, wiping down conference tables that cost more than her monthly rent. But her eyes? They were always scanning for security cameras, always listening for footsteps. Because if anyone found out, she'd lose the only job keeping a roof over Jacob's head. Emily wasn't looking for handouts. She wasn't asking for pity. Her motivation was simple and fierce. Jacob would never know the empty fridge, the lights getting shut off, the hunger pain she remembered from her own childhood in those same projects. Her partner, Jacob's father, had died in a construction accident 2 years earlier. The life insurance barely covered the funeral. The rest went to hospital bills from Jacob's premature birth. So every day, Emily woke up fighting the same battle: survive one more shift, protect one more night. She had dreams once. She wanted to be a nurse. She was halfway through her program when life knocked her down. Now those textbooks sat in a box under her bed, collecting dust. But every time Jacob smiled up at her with those big brown eyes, she told herself it was worth it. She was his whole world, and she refused to let him down. Meanwhile, 38-year-old Alexander Harrington, Alex to almost no one, sat at the very top of the same building. Corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Ivy League degree. He had taken his father's failing trucking company and turned it into a $120 million logistics empire. On paper, he had everything. In reality, he had nothing that mattered. His marriage had ended 2 years ago. His ex-wife said the same thing every time: "You're married to this company, not to me." He worked 80-hour weeks, ate at his desk, slept for hours a night. Kindness? That was something he wrote checks for, big donations to charities he never visited. Looking a struggling employee in the eye? That was something he'd forgotten how to do. He told himself he was building a legacy. But deep down, in the quiet moments when the city lights blurred outside his window, Alex felt profoundly alone. It was one of those sticky Atlanta mornings. Jacob had been up all night with an ear infection, screaming in pain. Emily's shift supervisor had already warned her once about personal items in the building. The baby's fever was climbing. She was desperate. The executive floor was empty for the 8 a.m. leadership meeting. Emily waited until the last person disappeared into the conference room, then wheeled her cart straight into Alex Harrington's private office. She locked the door. She didn't plan to stay long. She just needed 10 minutes. Maybe 20. Her body simply gave out. 40 minutes later, the door handle turned. Alex walked in early from the meeting, coffee in hand, tie already loosened. He stopped dead in the doorway. There she was, one of his cleaning staff, a black woman in her gray uniform, curled up on his couch with a tiny baby sleeping peacefully in her arms. The faint smell of baby powder. The damp spot on her sleeve where Jacob had drooled. The exhaustion carved so deep into her face she looked 10 years older than her driver's license photo. For 10 full seconds, he just stared. He didn't reach for the phone. He didn't call security. He didn't wake her. Instead, he quietly backed out, closed the door without a sound, and told his assistant he'd take his calls from the conference room. That one small, instinctive decision, letting a stranger rest in his private space, became the first act of kindness that would ripple outward and change everything. Before we continue with this incredible journey, I spent countless hours researching and crafting this story to bring you something truly meaningful. If stories like this touch your heart and you want to see more acts of kindness that restore faith in humanity, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means the world to me and helps these important stories reach others who need to hear them. Now, let's see what happens next. Emily's eyes snapped open. Her heart slammed against her ribs like a drum. Jacob was still sleeping peacefully against her chest, but the clock on the wall read 10:40 a.m. She had been asleep for almost an hour in the CEO's office. Panic flooded her body. She sat up too fast, nearly knocking over the side table. That's when she saw it. A handwritten note on crisp company stationery, placed carefully on the coffee table right in front of her. Take all the time you need. The couch is yours until 11 a.h. Beside the note sat a warm bottle of formula from the executive kitchen and a small packet of children's ibuprofen. Emily stared at the handwriting, her fingers trembling as she picked up the note. The letters were neat, confident, but the message felt impossible. No one had ever given her time without demanding something in return. Not once. Emily, baby, somebody saw us. And they didn't get mad. She fed Jacob quickly, changed him with supplies she kept in her cart, and tried to steady her breathing. At 10:55 she wheeled the cart out, legs shaky, expecting security to be waiting. Instead, she saw him. Alexander Harrington stood in the hallway, hands in his pockets, looking more uncertain than powerful. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither spoke. Alex, gentle, low voice, you're not in trouble. Emily froze. She braced herself for the lecture, the write-up, the walk to HR. Instead, Alex took a small step forward, keeping his distance so she wouldn't feel trapped. Alex! But I need to understand how this works. Can we talk? Just for a minute. Emily searched his face for anger. She found only quiet curiosity. Something in her chest loosened, just a little. She nodded. They stepped into a small private meeting room nearby. Emily kept Jacob in the sling, one hand protectively over his back. Alex didn't sit behind a desk. He pulled out 2 chairs and sat across from her like a regular person. Emily, voice tired but steady, with quiet dignity. I know it looks bad. But I don't have a choice. Daycare costs more than I make after the bus and everything. My baby's daddy died 2 years ago. Jacob came early, the bills ate everything. I'm not trying to take advantage. I need this job. He needs me to have this job. Alex listened, really listened. No interruptions. No checking his phone. He heard the math she whispered, rent, formula, impossible schedules. He learned she had already been written up twice by her supervisor, who worried about optics. He learned Jacob's father never even got to hold him. And most heartbreaking of all, he heard Emily's deepest fear. Emily, voice breaking slightly. My biggest worry isn't being poor. It's the day Jacob looks at me and realizes his mama has nothing left to give him. The room went quiet. Alex stared at the tiny baby now awake and staring back at him with big, trusting eyes. For the first time in years, the successful CEO felt something crack inside his carefully built walls. Alex, soft, genuine. I'm sorry. I had no idea people here were struggling like this. I sign the checks for charity events, but I don't see what's happening right under my roof. He paused, then made a decision that surprised even himself. Alex, I'm not going to write you up. In fact, I want to help. Not as charity. As the right thing to do. That afternoon, Alex did 2 quiet but life-changing things. First, he reassigned Emily to the lighter daytime cleaning crew on the executive floor. No more night shifts. No more sneaking Jacob into closets. He had his assistant, Marie, a Haitian immigrant who had raised 3 kids while working nights, quietly convert an unused storage closet into a small nursery. A crib from Alex's own attic was delivered that same day. Second, he paid for 6 months of daycare out of his personal account. He framed it as a pilot employee support program so Emily wouldn't feel like a charity case. He told no one except Marie. Marie, to Alex, warm accent. Mr. Harrington, you just became human today. Emily's reaction when she saw the nursery was pure, raw gratitude mixed with dignity. She didn't cry in front of him. She stood taller, holding Jacob close. Emily, I don't know why you're doing this, but thank you. I won't let you down. And I promise, I'll work even harder. Alex, smiling for the first time in weeks. You already work hard enough, Emily. Just rest when you need to. And let Jacob sleep where it's safe. As she left that day, pushing her cart with lighter steps, Emily felt something she hadn't felt in years, hope. But this was only the beginning. Over the next few days, small interactions started to build something deeper. Alex began coming in earlier, not to work more, but to sit on the floor of the nursery and let Jacob gum his expensive watch. He learned the baby's favorite lullaby. One late evening, over terrible office coffee, Alex admitted something he had never said out loud. Alex, vulnerable, looking down. I don't know how to be soft anymore. I built this company, but I forgot how to just sit with a baby. Or with another person. Emily, fierce and funny once the exhaustion lifted a little, looked at him with kind eyes. Emily, you can build $100 million company, but you can't figure out how to sit still with a 6-month-old? Come on, Mr. Harrington. Even I can teach you that. They both laughed, the first real laugh either had shared in a long time. Their conversation slowly moved from logistics to dreams. Emily told him about the nursing degree she had abandoned. Alex confessed his fear that his father's legacy would be the only thing people remembered about him. In those quiet moments, two very different people started seeing each other not as boss and cleaner, not as rich and poor, but as simply human. What would you do if you discovered someone with incredible talent and heart living in such difficult circumstances? Let me know your thoughts below. I read every comment. This connection was growing, but bigger obstacles were coming. And the real test of kindness was about to begin. As the days turned into weeks, something beautiful and unexpected began to happen inside the walls of Harrington Dynamics. Emily no longer moved through the building like a ghost. She walked with her head higher, her steps lighter. Jacob was safe in the little nursery during her shifts, and for the first time in months, she could actually breathe. The exhaustion that had etched deep lines into her face started to soften. She smiled more. She even hummed softly while wiping down desks. And she started noticing others. One afternoon she saw Carlos, the young Latino delivery driver, looking exhausted as he loaded boxes. His wife was 8 months pregnant and terrified of missing work. They couldn't afford for her to take time off. Emily remembered how alone she had felt. Without saying a word to Alex, she quietly shared extra formula she had and covered one of Carlos's shifts so he could take his wife to a doctor's appointment. Another day, she heard soft crying from the bathroom. It was Sarah, the white receptionist, trying to hold back tears over her mother's mounting cancer bills. Emily slipped a handwritten note under Sarah's keyboard later that day. You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to or cover a break, I'm here. Simple words, but they landed like a lifeline. Emily, voiceover, reflective. Mr. Harrington gave me a chance to rest. The least I can do is help others catch their breath too. The office culture began shifting in small but visible ways. People lingered at the break room table instead of eating alone. Someone started a shared snack drawer. Flexible hours quietly appeared for parents without mountains of paperwork. Kindness was becoming contagious. For Alex, the change was slower and deeper, almost painful. He started showing up earlier, not to grind through more emails, but to sit cross-legged on the nursery floor and let Jacob gum his fancy watch. The baby's giggles became the best part of his day. One evening, while rocking Jacob to sleep, Alex learned the lullaby Emily sang. He caught himself humming it later in his office. Late one night, over 2 cups of terrible office coffee, the walls came down a little more. Alex, quiet, vulnerable. I don't know how to be soft, Emily. I've spent 15 years building this place. Meetings, numbers, deals, but sitting here with a baby. It feels foreign. Like I forgot how. Emily looked at him, fierce but kind, exhaustion no longer clouding her eyes. Emily. You can run $100 million company, Alex, but you can't figure out how to sit still with a 6-month-old? Even I can teach you that. Just breathe. He's not judging you. They both laughed softly. The conversations grew richer. Emily opened up about wanting to finish her nursing degree. Alex confessed something he had buried deep. Alex. I'm scared my father's legacy will be the only thing anyone remembers about me. That I'll die successful, but alone. In those moments, vulnerability cracked open between them like sunlight through closed blinds. Emily was learning to trust again. Alex was learning to feel again. But kindness this real rarely goes unchallenged. In week 4, the storm hit. A board member, an older, no-nonsense investor named Richard, discovered the unauthorized nursery during a surprise walkthrough. He stormed into Alex's office, face red. Richard, angry, sharp. What the hell is this, Harrington? A daycare in the executive suite? We have policies for a reason. Optics matter. If this gets out, it looks like favoritism. Fire the woman immediately for policy violation, or I'll bring it to the full board. The threat was clear: protect the polished corporate image Alex had spent 15 years building, or stand beside Emily and Jacob. That night, Alex didn't sleep. He paced his empty penthouse, replaying every conversation with Emily. He thought about Jacob's trusting eyes. He thought about how empty his own life had felt before that humid Thursday morning. The next day, doubt crept into Emily's heart too. She overheard whispers in the hallway. She saw the way some employees glanced at her now, not with kindness, but with suspicion. For a moment, the old fear returned, *, what if I lose everything again because I dared to accept help, *. Emily, to Alex in a quiet corner, voice trembling but strong. If this causes you trouble, I understand. I can go back to the night shift. I don't want to be the reason your company suffers. Alex looked at her, really looked. The woman who had snuck her baby into his office out of desperation was now offering to sacrifice her own relief to protect him. Alex, firm, but gentle. No. This isn't just about you and Jacob anymore. It's about what kind of place I want this to be. I'm not backing down. Alex made his choice. In a company-wide meeting that surprised everyone, he stood up and publicly announced a new family support initiative. It would include on-site daycare resources, flexible hours for parents, and emergency assistance funds, all funded initially from his own bonus. He didn't name Emily. He simply said it was the right thing to do. The decision cost him. A major investor pulled out, calling it soft leadership. But it gained him something priceless: genuine respect from employees who had long stopped expecting anything real from the corner office. The once hostile supervisor pulled Emily aside days later. Supervisor, humbled. I was hard on you because I was scared for my own kid. I'm sorry. What you went through, it opened my eyes. Kindness proved contagious precisely because it was imperfect. No one was saved overnight. But everyone started to feel seen. Through all of this, Emily and Alex's bond deepened. She was moving from survival to trust. He was moving from routine to real commitment. But the biggest test was still ahead, and the transformation that would change both their lives forever was just beginning. Have you ever had to overcome obstacles to help someone you cared about? What challenges did you face? Share your experience below. Alex refused to let fear win. He went above and beyond what anyone expected. He didn't just defend the small nursery, he poured his own resources and influence into making real change. Using part of his personal bonus and quietly leveraging his network, he accelerated the family support initiative. Within weeks, the unused storage space was expanded into a proper, bright daycare corner with soft lighting, toys, and safe cribs. Marie took the lead in organizing it, turning her quiet smile into active leadership. Carlos and his pregnant wife received covered prenatal appointments through the new emergency fund. Sarah found breathing room with adjusted hours so she could attend her mother's treatments. The community inside Harrington Dynamics began to rally in ways no one predicted. Employees from every background, Black, white, Latino, Haitian immigrants, long-time locals, started contributing in small but meaningful ways. Someone donated gently used baby clothes. Another started a carpool group for parents. The once sterile office felt warmer, more human. Emily herself began to blossom. No longer trapped in survival mode, she carried herself with quiet confidence. She finished her shifts with energy left over. She started studying nursing textbooks again during her lunch breaks, Jacob napping peacefully nearby. The fierce single mom who once snuck her baby into an office was now helping others, sharing formula, covering shifts, and reminding everyone with her actions that kindness costs nothing but means everything. Alex's transformation was just as profound, though it happened more quietly. He still worked hard, but the late nights were no longer empty. He made time to sit with Jacob, learning to change diapers and sing lullabies without feeling awkward. He opened up more in conversations with Emily, admitting how much his old life had cost him emotionally. One evening on the office roof, the same building where everything began, they shared a simple picnic. No fancy restaurant. Just sandwiches, juice boxes, and Jacob crawling happily between them, laughing at the Atlanta skyline that once represented only fear and exhaustion. In that moment, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic fireworks. It was quiet certainty, two people choosing each other's burdens. Alex, soft, sincere. I used to think success meant never needing anyone. You and Jacob showed me that real strength looks a lot like letting someone rest when they're tired. Emily, smiling, eyes shining. And you showed me that kindness isn't weakness. It's the hardest, most practical thing we can do. Thank you for seeing us. The major life changes came steadily. Emily enrolled in nursing school part-time. Her tuition was covered by a scholarship fund Alex helped create, one he deliberately didn't name after himself. She moved into a safer, brighter apartment with a small backyard for Jacob. Alex sold his cold, empty penthouse and bought a modest loft near Emily's neighborhood so he could be closer and help with Jacob without making her feel dependent. The biggest symbol of transformation came on the day the new company daycare center officially opened. Emily stood beside Alex as he cut the ribbon. She was dressed neatly, holding Jacob, who was now bigger, healthier, and giggling. The camera would linger here in the video, on her proud, steady stance and Alex's quiet smile of fulfillment. The crowd clapped not for a powerful CEO or a former cleaning lady, but for what they had all become, part of a workplace that chose to see people instead of just policies. Remember that humid Thursday morning when Alex walked into his office and found Emily and Jacob asleep on his couch? Now, the scene returns, but everything is different. Instead of sneaking in desperation, Emily walks confidently through the halls as a respected employee and student. Jacob plays safely in the daycare. Alex no longer eats alone at his desk, he joins the break room, listens to his team, and feels truly connected. Emily now pays it forward every day. She mentors new parents struggling with the same challenges she once faced. She encourages Carlos's wife, supports Sarah through her mother's treatment, and even sits with the supervisor's daughter when needed. The ripple effect of that one nap has spread far beyond the executive floor, touching families, changing mindsets, and proving that kindness creates real, lasting change. Alex, voiceover, reflective. I thought I was building a company. Turns out, I was missing a heart. Emily and Jacob reminded me what matters. Emily, voiceover, strong and hopeful. I went from surviving to thriving, not because someone saved me, but because someone chose to see me. And now I get to do the same for others. The disadvantaged woman who started in survival mode had grown into someone thriving and giving back. The privileged man who lived in routine had found awareness, action, commitment, and finally deep fulfillment. Together, they showed that one small act, letting someone rest, could rewrite entire lives and lift up a whole community. This story shows how one act of kindness can change everything. What's one way you could make a difference in someone's life today? Challenge yourself and share your commitment in the comments. The journey isn't over yet. There's still the beautiful epilogue and what happened next. Where are they now? 6 months after that fateful humid Thursday, life at Harrington Dynamics, and in Emily and Alex's worlds, looks beautifully transformed. Emily Thompson is thriving. She works part-time on the executive cleaning crew while attending nursing school 3 days a week. Her grades are strong, and her professors have already noticed her natural compassion and steady hands. Jacob, now a happy, crawling 1-year-old with a big smile, spends his days in the bright company daycare where he's made little friends from all kinds of families. Emily's apartment feels like a real home now. There's food in the fridge, lights that stay on, and a small backyard where Jacob can play safely. She no longer wakes up at 4 a.m. in panic. Instead, she wakes with purpose. Most importantly, Emily has become a quiet force of kindness in the office. She mentors new single parents, organizes baby supply drives, and always has an encouraging word or a covered shift for anyone struggling. The woman who once hid her baby in fear now lifts others up without hesitation. Alex Harrington has changed in ways even he didn't expect. He still leads the company, but his calendar now includes real boundaries, no more 80-hour weeks that leave him empty. He sold his luxury penthouse and moved into a modest loft near Emily's neighborhood. He spends evenings helping with Jacob, learning to cook simple meals, and actually showing up for the people around him. The once isolated CEO now joins lunch breaks, listens to employees' stories, and feels a fulfillment that money never gave him. Their relationship has grown into something deep and genuine, not a fairy tale romance with dramatic proposals, but a real partnership built on trust, respect, and shared burdens. They take Jacob on weekend picnics, talk about dreams late into the night, and support each other's growth without pressure. Love wasn't born in fireworks. It was born the moment two exhausted people chose to protect each other's rest instead of guarding their own status. The ripple effect continues to spread. The company's family support program has expanded. More parents have flexible hours. Emergency funds have helped several families through medical crises. Marie continues organizing community swaps and has even started a small support group for immigrant parents. Carlos's wife had a healthy baby boy, and she credits the prenatal help for giving her peace of mind. Even former skeptics on the board have quietly admitted the changes improved morale and retention. The office that once felt cold and corporate now feels alive with humanity. Black, white, Latino, Haitian, and native-born employees clap not for titles, but for the simple truth that one nap on a leather couch became the first honest conversation in a building that had forgotten how to listen. In the end, this story reminds us that kindness is not a soft virtue, it is the hardest, most practical force capable of rewriting lives. Emily moved from survival to trust, growth, thriving, and finally giving back. Alex moved from empty routine to awareness, action, commitment, and true fulfillment. Together, with Jacob and their diverse community, they proved that compassion crosses every line, race, class, background, and creates something stronger than any policy or profit margin. Stories like this restore our faith in humanity because they show what's possible when we choose to see each other. When we choose to protect someone's rest instead of protecting our own image. When we remember that family, education, compassion, and simple human connection matter more than any corner office or perfect schedule. Extraordinary kindness exists all around us, often in the quietest moments. You don't need to be a CEO to start a ripple. You don't need millions to offer someone a safe place to rest. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is listen, notice, and act with an open heart. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, please like this video. It helps more people discover these inspiring tales of real human connection. Subscribe for more stories of acts of kindness that will restore your faith in humanity. And most importantly, look for opportunities in your own life to be someone's unexpected blessing. What act of kindness will you perform this week? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe it's covering a shift for a tired coworker, sharing resources with a struggling parent, or simply offering a listening ear to someone who feels invisible. Your small action could start a ripple that changes everything, just like it did for Emily, Jacob, and Alex. Thank you for watching and for being part of this community that believes in the power of kindness. Remember, you have the power to change someone's entire world, starting today. Be the kindness you want to see. Subscribe for more heartwarming stories. Comment, what act of kindness will you do this week?